Welcome back to the Volvo Ocean Race headquarters. I'm Jenny Tulloch here with Zane Gills, and we are about 12 hours from the expected finish of the fleet to Lorient. The Bay of Biscay has been hammering the fleet, but the new boat in the fleet, Team Vestas Wind, has been keeping it together in second place. We have skipper Chris Nicholson on the line now. Nico, how close is this fight for you guys right now?
Yeah, it's just gotten a little bit closer over the last couple of hours. We just kind of unfortunately cocked up a couple of miles to Abu Dhabi. We had a few boat issues after we did the last tack over. So hopefully things are sorted out now and we're back up to speed.
Sorry, Nico, just a tiny bit hard to hear you. Maybe could you try putting the mic a little bit closer to your mouth? And maybe actually give us that answer again if you could.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi's now about 4 miles behind. When we tacked over a few hours ago, we had about almost a 6 mile lead. And when we tacked, we had quite a few boat issues. So we hope that we've got that sorted now, and we're back up to speed now.
Nico, I'm here with Zane Gills as well from Telefonica in the last race.
Nico, it looks like the fleet's chasing you down pretty hard. Good, thank you. The fleet's chasing you down pretty hard. Do you think you're going to be able to hold them off to the finish?
Well, honestly, if you'd asked me an hour ago, I would have said no. But we had a flood in the aft compartment from the ballast tank, and then we actually also had one in the forward compartment of the boat end, and our keel fell off and dropped the leeward. So we've had it all going on, and we're sorted out now.
Oh, that's rough. So I was going to say, it's been quite a brutal introduction to your fleet back into the race, the Bay of Biscay, and of course the problems you've been having on board. How are they all holding up?
Not too bad. We've had quite a bit of, probably at least half the crew have gone down seasick at one stage or another. It's been a little bit of a hospital ship, but I imagine that's the same for most of the boats in the fleet.
Well, fair enough. Good luck to you guys. Hopefully it gets lighter for you and less rainy. It's looking like it's rainy quite now. That was skipper Chris Nicholson. Let's take a look at where they are now in the fleet and what the major moves have been in the last 8 hours. As the fleet drag raced east, the big question was when to tack to Lorient, essentially calling a windward mark lee line from 150 miles out. First attack was Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, followed closely by SAA and Mapfre, who hedged back east again, then the rest of the fleet like dominoes in a line. The gap has closed between Vestas and those behind, and Brunel has closed up from astern as well, after their broken J2 incident yesterday slowed them down. Let's take a look at what that was like on board.
12 knots of breeze. Nice, sun, blue sky. What can go wrong? One of the lead lines slipped on the jib, and then it got a big bang and it ripped on the leech. So we got a big tear in the back of the J2. So we had to change it to the J3. It's not very nice because we expect J2 conditions all the way across the Bay of Biscay. Right now it's okay with the J3, but yeah, we have to wait and see.
It was brutal for Brunel yesterday. They basically couldn't use their J2 for a couple of hours. They were using their J3, and they were losing, we know. But it sounds like they've gotten it all sorted, at least a little bit better now. But Nico as well was saying they had problems on board and they're having to deal with ballast issues. How do you go about continuing the racing while having to deal with boat issues, sail problems?
Well, Nico's boat's basically a brand new boat now, so obviously it sounds like they're having a lot of teething problems, which is not any big problems at the moment, but a lot of smaller problems. But you just have to keep sailing as much as you can and being as less disruptive to the watch systems and to the racing as possible, and just try and fix the problems as quickly and as easily as you can.
And it's not that easy, I mean, especially because we know the vast majority of the fleet has had some seasickness issues as well.
Yeah.
Nico said half of his crew is down. Team SCA pretty much said the same. How do they deal with that? How do you keep racing when you're actually feeling seasick?
It's all a mental game, for sure. Vestas, that's the first time they've probably been offshore in some time, so the guys, I would say, we're definitely not used to that. So it'll be tough for them, definitely, but it's a mental game, you know. They have to get themselves up, try and get some water down, and just keep it all together. We saw the problems that the Brunel had with the sails. I was just wondering if they have enough spares on board to actually fix the sail properly, because being a short sprint of a leg, they might not have enough materials to fix the sail, so I think we'll have to see.
They might not even have the amount of time, essentially, to fix the sail either. It's such an important point in the race, especially for Brunel. It's such an important point in this race. The points all getting very, very close. This is the penultimate leg. Overall, on the leaderboard, it is quite tight for third and for second, but the first place maybe getting a little bit away. This was Joe Picard earlier with the team leaders of Dongfeng Race Team and Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing.
Hey Jenny, and welcome to the dog here in Lorient, and it's the race village opening. Bonjour, I should have said. Sorry, I'm not fluent in French just yet. I'm joined by the team heads of Dongfeng, Mark Turner, and of course Jamie Bogue for Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Mark, we'll start with you.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va?
Très bien, merci.
So the next 24 hours is going to be critical for Dongfeng, right?
Well, I think probably the next few hours actually, with the boats all about to head towards the finish line. Certainly the race is probably going to be decided in these next few hours and on the way into the finish line in Lorient.
So what do you think that the guys can do? Is there any option for them in the next few hours to be able to move up the rankings?
Well, I guess the timing in this final tack into Lorient counts a lot, but ultimately there's not many options after that. So it's going to be difficult to see a way past any boats. I think the boats have had a pretty tough last 36 hours, so I know there's lots of different bits of damage on different boats, so that could play ultimately. The boats are so close that ultimately a small difference in speed or not being at 100% can count quite a lot in this race. So I guess you've got to keep the dream alive right to the end. We've got a lot to do though. Abu Dhabi are obviously in a very, very strong place.
So let's move on to Abu Dhabi and the very, very strong place. If you keep one boat between Abu Dhabi and your closest rivals, Dongfeng or Brunel, is that it? Have you won the race?
I mean, it's maths. It certainly puts us in a pretty, it's certainly set point, double set point, whatever you want to call it. I don't think there'll be any celebrations until we get to Gothenburg, but it's, it becomes all to do for everybody else, and improbable things then have to happen. I guess penalties or different things that have to happen. So it would put us in a reasonably unassailable place, but the improbable often happens in yachting, so we won't be jumping up and down quite yet on the dock. We'll save that hopefully, but certainly if it stays the way it is at the minute, the guys will have done a great job, and it puts us in the ultimate strong position, I guess.
I think critically though, if you manage to put a boat between either ourselves and Brunel and yourselves, then actually you still win even with a DNF, even with a not finishing the final leg. So that's pretty certain in that.
But if you do take into consideration the last leg and the TSS zones that are coming up, there's a lot of exclusion zones. There are a lot of penalties that were given.
You'd have to have a DNF and a penalty, which is,
like I said,
pretty damn hard to imagine.
Very unfortunate, but has
Improbable.
happened in the past.
I certainly think we'd be very, very careful as we sail the last leg in any respects. But it'd be great. It would, this race it's enjoyable for the guys in a lot of respects, but it's brutal, as we've said, and seeing the pictures coming off the boat of Ian and those guys, they're fully spent, and it would be nice to have the end of the race with not quite as much anxiousness and pressure, and that would put us in that place.
But for the race, the best thing would be SCA winning with the girls would be fantastic. Vestas second, fantastic comeback. Abu Dhabi actually back a few more places so that the suspense is there till the end. It's not good for your stress, or my stress perhaps, but I think it would be great for the race.
I'm going to stop you guys now. I've got to hand back to the studio. Who knows? It's all going to be decided here in Lorient. We're going to hand back over to you. Thanks, Jenny.
Well, it was interesting from Joe and from the two guys who essentially know best. They know their teams more than anything. They know the points on the scoreboard more than anything. It sounds like it's all Abu Dhabi's to lose, but let's hear from skipper Charles Kajale himself on board Dongfeng Race Team. Charlie, you with us?
Yes.
We were just talking about how this leg hasn't necessarily gone your way, but there's still a long way to Lorient, a lot coming up, and of course you have local knowledge once you get into shore there especially. What options do you think are left on the table for you?
Since the committee decided to shorten the race, we have less opportunity. I don't know, we'll see, maybe one, but I don't think so. It looks very simple to go to Lorient, except around Groix maybe. We'll see.
What are the conditions like now? Have you guys had some squalls?
Second,
Have you had any rain squalls this afternoon?
not really, no, it's okay. A few, but not a big one. There was just a big shift of wind, a bit unexpected, so strong, and Brunel managed to pass us, and so it's not a good news because. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We are going to fight to be ahead of him and maybe try to catch one boat or two boats, but I think it's going to be complicated.
Fair enough. It could be very complicated, but at least you guys have the most Frenchmen of any of the teams on board. So best of luck to you as you approach Lorient and the French coast this evening. Thanks so much for joining us, Charles. He sounds still positive, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, but I'm sure it would probably be a bit deflated, depending on the result coming into the finish. I mean, it is still quite a fair bit of race to go. It can get quite light and gusty underneath the headlands as you come into Lorient there. So, I mean, it's still all to play for in some respects.
It's a tricky little race course there. I mean, they have to sail between Belle Ile, the big island off of Lorient, and the shore. As you can see, the wind is upwind as they get close to the shore. It's still going to be kind of a tacking duel, and then the final reach. But what do you think?
The boats will be hoping to lay the windward mark, and then it bears way onto a reach. So depending on wind shifts, there can be some place changes to the top mark there. And then reaching, they could have their big sails up. It's going to be dark in the middle of the night and possibly get some quite big gusts coming off the hills. So they definitely still have to be on their toes. I mean, this leg isn't over by far.
There's a possibility of rain squalls as well this evening. So as we've said, it's close racing, it's tight racing. Charles Caudrelier is definitely not giving up. I don't think any of the teams are. At this point, we're expecting the finishes to be about 12 hours from now. We are now live with the tracker, and we will be live with the show 1 hour before they finish. So stay tuned on our social media, online, and of course on the live tracker and on the app. And we'll see you very, very soon for an epic Leg 8 finish.